You're listening to TG1F, an F1 podcast with Kate and Nicole.
We're your hosts. I'm Kate.
And I'm Nicole.
And this is our show where, you know what? Let's do something a little different.
Welcome to TG1F's Read an F1 Romance Novel Month.
F1 romance, author interviews, book recommendations, oh my.
Join us for a month-long celebration of F1 romance authors and the stories that get our hearts racing.
Because while F1 drivers are filling their shelves with trophies, we're filling yours with F1 romance novels.
Who are we talking to today, Kate?
Turn the page and find out. Welcome to the podcast, Carly Robyn.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, you guys.
So happy to have you here. As genuine fans of your work, we have a long series of these interviews going live throughout this month. And while we wish we had been able to read every single novel of everyone that we're interviewing, that would take I think it would take years.
We can
But
confidently
we have read yours.
Oh my gosh,
We're very excited to have you here.
Thank you. Well, you guys are, I think I told you this like way back when we first like met, but I was like, you guys were the first Formula One, like, I don't want to say fan, but like account that I followed that was run by females. So I'm like, you guys are my OGs.
Oh my gosh.
I was obsessed with you guys long before I even knew you. So
honored. So for anyone who's listening who does not already have the pleasure of knowing Carly, I'm so sorry for you, but that's about to change. And so Carly, for the people listening, can you give us a quick rundown of your work featuring Formula One, any books that you currently have? We know there are a few in the hopper right now. And for what people can read, just give us a quick like elevator pitch. What is it about? What are the themes? What are the plot points? What are the tropes? What can people get excited about?
Yes. You think I'd be better at selling my book, but I'm like, I want to hide under a rock every time. I'm like, I don't know, just read it and find out. But I can give you guys a little, my elevator pitch. So my book is called Drive Me Crazy, and it is a Formula One romantic comedy / contemporary romance. It kind of fits into both categories. It is about a down on his luck Formula One driver. He's kind of definition of like broody, grumpy, tall, dark, and handsome. He's British. And his team is like, your reputation is in the shitter. We need to do something about this. In comes Ella. She's a sports journalist who her own career kind of just had sort of a downfall as well. So she's looking for a new job. One thing, leads to another, and they end up getting paired. She's going to help interview him for a tell-all book to kind of help get him back into the good graces of the world. So then they spend the season traveling the world together, going to all the races. Obviously, they fall in love. It is a romance. I'm always like, there is a happy ending. Tropes, themes, it's grumpy sunshine, forced proximity, dual POV. There's mental health representation, and they both go to therapy in the book. Anything else? Slow burn with spice. I'm like thinking of what my Instagram captions always are, like the tropes I list. I think those sum up like the main ones for the most part. So that is my debut Formula One baby. The second book in the series, it's called Drive Me Wild, and it comes out in October 22nd. I don't know if I've actually announced yet who it is. I've said it's Theo, but I don't think I've like said that the female is Josie, even though I think it's pretty obvious.
If you read the book, you can assume that it's going to be Theo and Josie.
I have an official announcement. But this is my official announcement. It's Friends to Lovers, and it was so fun to write. And Theo is truly like every intrusive thought that I ever have. He not only says them, but he acts on them. So he was very fun to write. And then the third book in the series, Drive Me Home, comes out spring 2025. I'm not sure yet. And that is Lucas's story. And he's kind of like, imagine like if Logan Sargent drove for McLaren. Like that's kind of the vibes I would give you.
Okay, love that. Love that comparison. So much fun. You mentioned that both characters in Drive Me Crazy go to therapy, and that it touches on mental health. So tell us a little bit more about that and why that was a topic that was important for you to have represented in your book?
Yeah, so I am the hugest mental health proponent. Like, I've been going to therapy since I was 13, and like my therapist is a man, and I literally tell all my friends that like he's going to be my maid of honor at my future wedding. I'm like obsessed with this man. I'm like, I don't know how I would do life without my therapist. So I knew going into it that like I wanted that to be a key component. Um I also have anxiety, and I wanted to give that to Blake. Sorry, Blake, just because I feel like I think now it's a lot like mental health in athletes is talked about a little more than it definitely was in the past. But you don't see it as much with male athletes. So I
Yeah.
was like, you know what, this could be kind of a cool, fun take on it. Um, and then Ella just kind of goes to therapy as more of a like check in. But yeah, I just knew that it was something important to me and something that I wish was more represented in the books that I read. And I was like, well, if I'm the one writing it, I'm going to be the one to put it in there. So
Crazy how
that's
it
kind of
works like that. You get
right.
to be the captain of your own fate. Yeah. I loved the mental health aspect of Blake's character growth because, you know, when you kind of meet him, he's kind of prickly and you're like, okay, this guy seems like an asshole. Like, what the fuck's going on? And then you start to uncover like all of these other parts of him. And I really thought you did justice to the therapy storyline, whereas I think I've read other books where therapy has been kind of thrown in and it feels like it's just said to kind of give a crutch to the character, but it really thought out, like it was actually something he was taking seriously and you could see the growth that was coming from it, which I really, really loved.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like he starts off as so grumpy, but then he's secretly just such a smush ball inside, and you want to like give him a little hug. So I wanted that therapy to like show kind of his vulnerable side and show kind of how he then opens up and shows it to Ella. But like he has to obviously get there.
Yeah. No, I loved it. So let's chat a little bit more about writing F1 romances. So, you know, we've seen a handful of other sports romances kind of come on the scene in the past couple of years. Book Talk has kind of been a huge driver of this. But what has it been like writing about a sport that is, I mean, we've seen F1 become bigger in the past years or so, but like, what has it been like writing about a sport that is not predominantly known to everyone in your audience yet?
It's definitely tough. I've done a few like book signings at local bookstores, and I bring my mom as my assistant. And every time like someone walks by, I'm like, you know, here's my book, whatever. It's about a Formula One driver. And my mom's like, you can't lead with that because that scares people away. Like, because if they don't know Formula One, they're like, well, why would I read a Formula One romance?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, F that. I'm still going to lead with it. But I always say, like, you don't have to understand or know the sport before
Yeah.
reading my book. And I think that was super important while I was writing it, because I'm the least sporty person you will ever meet in your entire life. Like, I just, it's not my thing. It never has been. Like, when my friends are like, let's go to a baseball game, I'm like, no, thank you.
I know you were at the rugby game the
I
other
did
day.
just go to a rugby game. So I'm becoming more of a sporty girl. So now like hockey, rugby, and Formula One are my sports that I can get into. But I was kind of like when I was reading sports romances, a lot of the times I was like, what are they talking about? I was like,
Mhm.
I don't know like what is a XYZ. And then I'd like have to Google it. And then I felt like I was kind of taken out of the story a little bit.
Mhm.
So I wanted to make sure that, you know, when I was writing it, it was still, I don't know if accessible is the right word, but people could read it without knowing and
Totally.
understanding the sport. Now it's kind of having its moment in America, which I'm like,
Mhm.
whew, about time. I've been waiting for this. So now I think it's a little bit more recognizable, or people are like, oh, I've sort of kind of heard of that, so maybe I'll give it a chance. Versus like, I truly have never heard of this as a NASCAR.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's totally fair. I mean, I have read some other F1 romance novels as well where it's been like too technical and I'm like, okay, I don't want to pretend like I'm actually watching a race. Like I don't actually care about that.
I just want them to
Um
kiss.
yeah,
Right.
I
I'm like,
literally
I
just
don't
wanted
know about
to
the
kiss.
chase. I want them to make.
Yeah. And so
I love it.
I like that your book was, it was very digestible, especially as, I mean,
Mhm.
Kate and I know a ton of stuff about Formula One at this point. It was nice to read a book that was like I could pass off to any of my friends who might not know about Formula One and feel confident that like they won't have any hyper specific questions about how things are working within the book that you didn't kind of give context for.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That's like the highest compliment ever.
Basically, you did amazing, sweetie, and keep it up. So those are the books that you've written so far or that are coming out. But I kind of want to come back a little, some general questions here.
Yeah.
So the first is a two-parter. And this first book, Drive Me Crazy, has a lot of tropes in it.
Yeah.
What is your favorite trope to write? And then on the other side, what is a trope that you haven't written yet that you really want to?
Ooh, that's a good one. My favorite trope is probably Grumpy Sunshine. I don't know why. I think you wouldn't know this, like knowing me, because I'm very outgoing, but I'm truly the grumpiest person ever. So like I relate so hard to like grumpy characters because I'm like, yeah, I get that, like for sure. I definitely can be Sunshine too, but like I don't know, I just love the dynamics. Um, and then one that I really want to write. Oh, that's so hard. I kind of want to write a single parent trope.
Mm.
Don't know why. My friends don't even really have babies, so like I don't know where this is coming from, but I kind of feel like it'd be fun and like
Challenge
challenge me a
yourself.
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outside my comfort zone. So I'd say single parent.
It's a good one. So kind of going back all the way back, in terms of Formula One, how did you get into it? What was your journey into the sport?
I would say the like good thing that came out of COVID was my love for Formula One. I had just been furloughed from my job at the beginning. I worked in marketing for the restaurant industry. And I was like, great, I'm applying to jobs, but like it's summer, I can't do anything. So I'm going to just binge watch every single TV show, movie that's available to me. Um, so I quite literally watched everything. And then I was like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, there's nothing left. And I was kind of looking, I was like, oh, maybe I'll go into like, docu-series next, kind of have your like, thriller movies. And then
Yep.
you have your, doctor shows, whatever.
Yep.
So I ended up deciding to watch the Drive to Survive docu-series. And I was like, oh my God. Like, it was like, it's like Real Housewives of sports, but like,
Yeah.
it's fast paced and it is all around the world. And the drivers are like, they each are so unique and have their own personalities. And what I really loved when I got into it is 2 hours in and out. Like
Yeah.
other sports, you stop and start and stop and start, and there's timeouts and have to, and I cannot do it. Like I want to know how long I'm going to be watching something. So like
Yeah.
for Formula One, I was like, oh, it's 2 hours. I can totally commit to this. And like
Yeah.
once I was in like watching old races, going on deep dives on like ESPN and YouTube. And then the world opened up and I was like, new me. This is a
Yeah.
Formula One girlie over here.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
the
you
old
have
Carly can't come to the phone right now. Why? Because she's now obsessed with
He's
Formula
red
One.
and the new Carly loves Formula One.
so you've written books before about other sports series, right? You have a book before this, right? It was about hockey.
I have a separate series, but it was written after the
Okay.
Drive Me.
So what was the driving not pun intended, the driving force behind you writing an F1 specific sports romance? Just your love for the sport?
I think it was honestly just my love for the sport. I've always been a huge, huge reader. And I have like written in the past, but not I'm gonna sit down and like really do this and like take it seriously. And I think it was kind of just like right place, right time. I go through phases where I either like only really watch TV or I only read. So like
Mhm.
when I'm
I'm
in a
the same
reading
way.
phase, my TV truly doesn't exist to me. And
100%.
when I'm in a TV phase, like, what's a book? Never seen one. So I think after I binge watched that show, I was like out of my TV phase. And I was like, okay, I've pretty much read everything on my TBR up to this point. So, like, I'm going to write something that I want to read now, knowing this like new to me sport.
Love, 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 love that. So you were in like a combo. It was like a combo reading, watching TV phase, but you were actually just you were writing it.
Yeah.
Writing is the in between. You were like, I watched something and I want to read about it,
Yeah.
but I'm just write
I
about
was
it.
like, watch out. I'm about to become Hannah Montana and best of both worlds this shit up. Because why the hell? Yeah, exactly. I was like, why not? Like, what else am I doing? Granted, it's definitely writing a book in the pandemic is definitely a lot different than like writing a book now that the world's 100% back. So that's been a shift for sure, but learning curve.
Yeah.
Gotta go through them. So you said that in I think you said it's the third book, there was a Logan Sargent at McLaren kind of like
Yes.
picture this moment. In Drive Me Crazy, is there any sort of real life inspiration behind any of the characters or anything like just tell me, is it Charles Leclerc? Like who
No,
was there anything like or anyone that you were like watching Drive to Survive and you're like that is kind of the character in my head? Or was it totally
surprisingly, like,
your own person?
no. And like when I was writing it, I did not have a single character in mind. Like the only person that I really think besides like kind of the Logan Sargent driving for McLaren is Theo has very Danny Rick vibes, like Australian, loud, kind of like does his own thing. People know him for his personality in addition to like his driving. But
Yeah.
Blake was always kind of just his own like entity. But because McAllister's colors are red, everyone's like, oh, it's Carlos Sainz or Charles Leclerc. And I'm like, but Blake is over 6 feet. So, like, no,
So actually, he's no one.
actually, he's no one. But I've never been a Verstappen girl. I just, like, always kind of thought he was just mean. But now I'm realizing he's low key really funny. Like,
Yeah.
you just kind of
Mhm.
have to get his, like, sense of humor. So now that I've kind of gotten on the Max train a little bit more, I'm like, Blake kind of does give a little bit of Max vibes. Like, he
Yeah.
comes across as a dick and, like, he's just really good and doesn't care and he's doing his own thing. But, like, in interviews, he's low key really funny. And, like, has like a good personality. You just have to kind of look
He's
really
a
hard
softie
for it at the
too.
beginning. Yeah, exactly. So
So this
now
is a retroactive.
it
This is
was
a retroactive. You didn't know you were writing about Max
exactly
Verstappen, but you were writing about Max Verstappen.
100%. Like didn't
I'll tell
know because
you,
I was so anti Max at the beginning, and now I'm like, okay, Max
You're
is
like he's
kind
just
of funny.
grumpy.
if
He's
this
I
just a
know.
started,
grumpy male main character.
You just like, yeah. It's
yeah.
now it's a
I
retroactive accidental character writing, but I'll
I
take it.
really kind of imagined Theo like Liam Lawson. Like they kind of give me similar vibes.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah. Like
I
I
can
think
see.
Liam Lawson is like really funny and he's such a character and like that's kind of the vibe that I Leo in my head was like that kind of vibe.
Yeah, very like larger than life.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I don't know if vivacious is the right word, but that's what's coming to my head, so
that
I'm
feels
rolling
like a
with
good
it.
one.
So I don't know where that came from. I haven't used that word in years, but it came to me, so we're
It
rocking
feels
with it.
right.
It feels right.
That's we're putting
Exactly.
that when you're promoting the book and you're like doing like adjectives that describe the characters. We're putting vivacious in there. It has to be there.
They're gonna be like the main male character is vivacious. I'm gonna be like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. So
Okay, we're gonna get into a really fun little rapid fire round.
I'm ready.
Okay, first, who is your favorite F1 driver and what is your favorite F1 team at the moment?
Lewis is my favorite driver, and my favorite
Amazing.
team. This is so hard because I'm between Ferrari and McLaren, but I'm gonna go Ferrari. So Lewis moving to Ferrari is kind of like
Huge for you.
A
huge for
dream.
me, except for I do love Carlos, so I'm sad for him. But like he's in
Yeah.
his villain era and I'm here for it. So
Yeah. He's
yes.
got to have a little reputation moment, I think.
What is your favorite non F1 book or book series at the moment?
Ooh. Probably I'm gonna go Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh, which is
Okay.
like very different.
What is
It's
it about?
rugby. It's rugby. It is, but it's like it's a romance, but it's like I've never laughed so loud at a book, but also like cried so hard at a book. So,
Oh,
but yeah, so I'd say that.
Great. Great recommendation. And finally, if you were going on The Amazing Race, famously Nicole and my favorite show to discuss, which of your characters would you want to bring with you to be your partner?
Okay, so oh shit. For the record, I would never end up on Amazing Race. There's no way in hell. But I kind of want to say Ella just because I know she'd always have snacks on her, which like I feel like
Mhm.
is pretty important. But Blake is trilingual, and I feel like if I got tired, he would carry me around and like bully his way into situations. So I feel like I'm gonna have to go Blake.
That's a good idea. And
Yeah.
also, Blake can drive stick.
That's true. I
That's
So,
a huge one.
I cannot.
Yeah.
yeah.
I always
Yeah.
forget about that. Like that's stuff I don't think about, and that's why I won't be on the show because it just wouldn't happen.
You got to think of
You
all of the
Amazing Race for
possibilities.
you is Hot Ones to me.
That's
Could
fair.
never. Could
I
never do it.
I would end up in the emergency room with heartburn, but like I would do it for the plot.
Always.
So
Always.
yeah.
It would
All
be a
right.
big punishment for me, but I would do it.
So,
All
Carly,
right.
thank you so much for being here. This was such a joy and such a pleasure. We'll put all of your information in the episode description for here, but give everyone just a quick rundown. What do you have coming up? What's going on? I feel like Hot Ones now. I'm like in
Yeah.
my Hot Ones zone. So I'm like, the red carpet is rolled out for you. Tell us
no,
what's
pretty
going
much.
on. Can people find you? What do you want them to do? Where can they read your work? What's the hockey book called? Like tell us everything.
Okay. Drive Me Crazy. It is available pretty much everywhere. There's also a ton of foreign editions if English is not your first language, so be sure to check Amazon. Drive Me Wild comes out October 22nd. Drive Me Crazy audiobook comes out on July 16th, which
So,
by the time this airs will be out.
We'll be out.
And I can't stop listening to it, even though I wrote it. Like Blake's accent is so hot that I'm like in love even more with the person that I made up. Carly Robyn author is my name on pretty much all my socials. And yeah, I hope you check out my book. I hope you love it, enjoy it. If you ever want to slide into my DMs to talk about, F1, Taylor Swift, Harry Styles, anything pop culture, I love to chat to people.
and quick plug, she's usually at the Chicago TG1F
I
watch
am.
party.
I am.
So you can find her
And they're
at
very
Theory
fun.
most Sundays.
Most Sundays, unless it's way too early for me and I was out too late the night before. But yes. Thank you guys for having me. This was so fun.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
I can't wait to read the next book, even though I already have it. I've been sitting on it for so long. Josie and Theo want to read it. Can't wait. But until then, everyone, please enjoy Drive Me Crazy like Kate and I did. We know you'll love it.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of TG1F, an F1 podcast with Kate and Nicole.
If you like what you heard, don't miss out on the fun between episodes.
Keep up with the chaos on Instagram at 2 Girls 1 Formula. That's spelled out TWO girls numerical 1 formula.
And check out our website, twogirls1formula.com, to shop cute fan-made F1 merch.
See you next week.
But like we said, in the meantime, we'll see you on the internet.